Let me say thank you all again for coming. Uh, we as professing Christians, we are Christians. You got to put forth an effort, a little bit of effort, to get your schedule where you're supposed to be in this church. You're not going to be in every service, but I believe you'll be in just about all of them. You won't miss very many. If you're sick, you can't come. There's something about coming to God's house to get fed. There's something about being around God's people. I don't know about y'all, but I think y'all in the same boat I am. There ain't a day that passes by that I don't sin in some way or fashion. And I think all of us are the same way. I told a young man the best testimony that we've got. I knew it's hard to talk to people, to witness to them. And I've known people that told me that, and I thought they were the best Christian I've ever been around. But when you see them coming out of the liquor store with liquor and beer and all that stuff, and what really bothers me is all the years that when I left, I backslid so long. Look at the example that I set for the lost people. You'll never know who's looking at you. And that still bothers me today. But you think how good God's been to you. And I don't know. I've told it one time. I'll tell it again. How the Lord deals with people. I left this church, stayed gone, I bet 20 years. Sure can tell you. And I went down to R&W one Sunday morning going, you tell me what business I had down there washing my truck. Because I believe it was in God's plan. When I was down there washing that old truck, I had a radio on. Guess who was on? Oliver Green, where this book come from. And I will never forget what he said. He said he was speaking to a backslidden Christian. And this was the last time that the Lord was going to deal with him. That was me. And we've been coming back here ever since. I don't understand how in the world he puts up with us. I don't understand. Let me change it. I don't understand how he puts up with me. But like I say, every day I fall short. I fail him in some way, form, or fashion. And I'm gonna read. I'm gonna jump all over everywhere. I had to make me a list right here so I wouldn't forget where I was going to be. That page there don't work. I'm going to read one verse in 1 John. 1 John chapter 1, verse 10. Listen to this verse right here. It says, if we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. I'm going to read that again. If we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. I've had people tell me that since they were saved, they don't sin. Well, the Bible says we've all sinned and fell short. But you notice, and I'm probably the worst in the world for this. It's easy for me to look at you and I can see everything that Teresa does wrong. But I can't see nothing that I do wrong. You think, and I reckon everybody's like that. I didn't hear that, Tracy. I ain't gonna pay you no mind. But according to what I read in this old book, they weren't but one sinless man that walked upon the face of this earth that knew not sin. And they weren't a Williams, they weren't a Waller. But you think about uh, if you look up the word chastise, it means to punish, to scold. A lot of times it means to beat. You think about how Jesus was on that cross. They beat him, you couldn't even recognize him. He took the chastisement that we were supposed to do. And look, you look at all the things that he's done for us. Look at the things he's done for this little old church here. And then turn around and look, ain't none of us done very much of anything. Or that's the way I feel. But I'm going to read that verse one more time, then I got two or three other places I want to go to. It says, if we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. And then I want to get into, make sure I got my wrong page here. You look at our kids today. I was over there to Miracle Ear and talking with that woman in there. And she said she did not believe in whipping you young. Said she had never done it. And I told her about this verse right here, and you can turn. I'm gonna turn right there. It's in Proverbs. Can't even find it. You might know where I'm going to be. It's in Proverbs chapter 13. But you look at the kids, and it's not all the kids. But me and Buddy, we built a daycare center out on Camp Lejeune. Little old kids in there, about that high. They called us over there for a warranty call. And them little old kids, we had drinking fountains on the outside. Them little old kids filled all them drinking fountains up with rocks. And we cleaned them out. I've never seen kids that small that cussed as bad as them kids did. They picked that up from home. Let me find where I'm gonna read right here. Yeah. And you look at the kids today, and my grandkids are the same way. My mom and daddy didn't go to church, but when you were talking with somebody, it was yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And you say something to these kids now, yeah. That's the way we're raising our kids today. Let me find where I want to read you. And yeah, you got it. That's what it is, verse 24. And I've heard that. You've heard people say, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." That ain't what it says. And I quoted this verse right here to that woman that told me that she didn't ever beat her kids. It says, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son." Dad and Mama must have loved me a lot, many whippings as I got. No. I told this woman, well, it says, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes." I told that woman over there when I quoted this right here, I said, my daddy beat me with a plow line. Y'all don't know what a plow line is, Truman does. And he was in the Army, and back then he had them belts was about that wide. He had it hung on a nail in the house there. And he tell you one time what he wanted you to do. He didn't go back the second time. But I wish that old man was around here now to whip me. I need a whipping every now and then. We need chastening every now and then. Let me figure out where I'm going to be here now. See, that was the first verse. Let me turn right here and look at it before I get back with y'all. But I think a lot, and let me throw this in there, you might not agree with me. A lot of the children today, their grandparents raise them. You might not agree with that. I like to see our grandkids come up there. I like to see them go home too. When you get old, man, it don't take long. They get on my nerves. Yeah, they're up there and they right wide open. You can't be still. Let me see if I can find the next verse I wanted to read. And I got one verse that I wanted to last, but talking about chastisement. This is in Proverbs chapter 3. Let's see. I want to read verse 11 and 12. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. All right, listen to what this next verse says. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as father the son in whom he delighteth. Every one of us has got kids and grandkids. Why do we correct them? Because we love them. That's why the Lord chasteneth us. Try to keep us, on the right path. I still don't understand why he loves us like he does anyway. I don't. If we deserve anything, we deserve to suffer the torments of hell. I told them boys over there while we were working at Summerfield School, looked like you wet us with a fire hose. It was so hot over there. I told them, I said, feel the temperature that we've got right now. Can't you imagine what hell's going to be? I don't know if it's going to be hot. I know it's going to be a place of everlasting torment. And that one boy said, I sure hope I won't go there. I said, well, even one way you ain't. I just can't imagine the suffering that's going on in hell now, right now. But it says in verse 12, for whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth. That's something we need in this church right here. How do we know what sin is? We're living in a society today that if our society says something is all right, even though it's contrary to this book or living a Christian life, it's fine. Every time I say something that's wrong or I do something that's wrong, it ain't next. The Lord don't chasten me next week. It's right then. And I'm going to throw this in there too. When the Lord saved me, and I know he done y'all the same way, he puts that desire in there. You'll want to come to church. You come to get fed. And I believe there's times that you're not going to come. You can't come to church. You're going to be sick or for some reason. But I believe if you willfully stay away from church, I think you're going to endure that chastening that this Bible's talking about. And the whipping that he gives you ain't like your mom and daddy taking you out there and whipping you with a belt. When I was talking with the preacher, me and him got talking about it. I said, I've been through that. He said, well, he had too. I've been that stumbling block that this book talks about. I've been that too. And like I said a few minutes ago, when Oliver Green said that was the very last time that he was going to deal with that backslidden Christian, that was me. There's no doubt in my mind that was me. And I don't even know, I fell down beside my old truck. I don't even know if I locked the wash rack, the gate, or anything. Next thing I know, I was home. Next Sunday, we were here. Y'all get, I'm gonna try to make this thing short. I ain't got the 2 or 3 verses. Then I'm gonna read the last one that I got wrote down here if I can find it. Let's see what this other one, that was 3:12. You had to put up with me a little bit. I ain't got a lot of horsepower, and I'm talking about horse up here. And I don't know what it is. Every time I think I'm supposed to be over here in another place, I'll never end up over there. And I know Willie does the same thing. I was over here and I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. I don't know how in the world I got over here where I'm at now. Let's see, this is in Proverbs chapter 23. Let's look at verse number 13. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. A lot of truth to that, ain't there? Let me turn over here. I got to go to. We're going to make this sort of short anyway. I might read a lot, and you'll just try to figure out what it's telling you. Let's see. Let's go to Hebrews. I think it's chapter 12. Let's see, chapter 12. Okay, in chapter number 12, we're going to read verses 7 and 8. And he's still talking about chastisement. It says, if you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? In verse number 8, it says, but if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. I don't care who it is, if you claim to be a Christian, and you and I know you're going to sin, don't get me wrong there, but I'm trying to lay this out about all of these folks not being on these pews. And you can't beat it in my mind by them not coming out here. Somebody's gonna get a whipping over it. Or either this book is a lie. And I know y'all have heard me say it before. You miss one Sunday, the next Sunday's a little bit easier. The next Sunday, first thing you know, you ain't come out here in a month or two. Yeah. You know, we can pray for them, but when God gets to dealing with them, and you know, you might not agree with this, but a lot of times there's two ways that God can get your attention. One of them is this thing right here. And most of the time, that'll get your attention before anything does. I had a young man that I was talking to, and all he could say was, he don't know why in the world, his stove and refrigerator and all that stuff, everything breaking down, he's breaking down faster than he can fix it. And he kept right on and on. I said, I can tell you what it is. I said, you're not going to church like you're supposed to. I said, if you would take and add up the money you spend, it probably end up being what you're supposed to be tithing. I've been there too. Can't figure out why the mess is breaking down. He's knocking on your door. And you take these, and I was probably the same way. These younger folks, they know everything right to start off with. You can't tell them nothing. And I was probably the same way when I was a teenager. But I had somebody to beat it. My daddy changed your tune now. He let you know right quick you weren't as smart as you thought you were. But I feel for these young people. You take the mistakes that we have made, trying to show them, and a lot of times they think we're stupid. And I know I'm stupid. But I hate to see them go down that path where I've already been down. A lot of times they might have it like Marty Shepard told me. He said the Lord put him in that hospital flat of his back. But he said he finally got where he could look up. The man that owns R&W, Wayne Pierce, you know, telling how many millions of dollars he's worth. Had to go to Boston up there and stayed in surgery about 14 hours. He told him he wouldn't live but a year. Been living 5 years. But it changed. It turned him 100. It turned him. I said it turned him 180 degrees from what he was. You know, you've read in here, the love of money is the root of all evil. Can't buy everything with money. A lot of times he has to lay us flat over back before we can really see where we're at or where we need to go. I got a couple more verses. I got to figure out where they're at. I'm going to read one more verse. Then we'll dismiss. But the point that I'm trying to get across, if you're not chastened of the Lord, something's wrong with your salvation. That's in plain English. That's what I'm trying to point out. And I'm trying to point out that if you stay away from the church, you're gonna get a whipping of it. And that's by the authority of this book right here. I'm gonna read one more verse, and I know you've heard it read before. It's in Hebrews chapter number 10. Let me find it here. And I know once I start reading it, you'll know where I'm at. I'm in verse number 25. It says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. And I can't stress this enough. That right there tells you we need to be, you're supposed to be in the church. And if you can't be here, then I reckon you call it Facebook or live feed, ever what that stuff is. But it ain't like being here. It's not like sitting in here. And the preacher, he probably listening. I told him, I says, I like Mike Shivers. But I says, he ain't Jamie Silas. I said, don't get the big head now. I said, I like to hear Mike Shivers, but he's not Jamie Silas. I like to hear Jamie Silas preach. There was something else I had wrote down I was going to say, but I can't find it. So I must not supposed to say it. But maybe if somebody's looking, they might see you can witness to people. The greatest witness you've got is the way you live. Is that me? Oh, just a minute. How about that? But you can tell me all how great a Christian you are and everything. I want to see it in your actions. See it in the things you do. See it in the places you go. Not just a lip service Christian. But we need to keep right on praying for our preacher. He's coming back. He's coming back. If y'all will, let's come on up here and we'll lift up all these prayer requests. Maybe I ain't put y'all to sleep. I think Truman back there nodding.